This is Money Talk 1310 and 100.9. Welcome to the Real Estate PB&J Hour, hosted by Realtors Paul Fuqua and Joyce Carcaise, who are experts in the fundamentals of buying and selling homes and other real estate properties. Now, here's Paul and Joyce.
Good afternoon. My name is Paul Fuqua. I have a little bit of expertise in this real estate business that seems to be on the tips of everybody's tongue these days because of a variety of reasons, one of which, of course, is the paucity or the lack of available houses to buy. My partner in the business is Joyce Carcaise. Joyce, tell me a little bit about yourself and tell our audience what your background is.
Again, I'm Joyce Carcaise, and my background has been in communications and business development. So a lot of what I have brought through corporate communications, I have brought into the real estate industry and have been working with Paul for the past 5 years. So really excited about that.
Well, it's been a trip. It's been a very interesting time as we've seen the market change radically. During the course of this show, we're going to, over the coming weeks and months, bring very erudite and experienced guests on who can help expand the knowledge that we're trying to make available on the building community, the development of homes in this area and points south of us in upper North Carolina. And in fact, today we feel very privileged to have a speaker who'll be on with us in a few minutes after we get through the market update that Joyce is going to provide. We have a fellow named Stuart Jones, who's been the founder and president of Princess Anne Construction Company for, too many years to really mention. I'll let him mention it. But he's as old as dirt, and he's actually better than dirt. And I look forward to seeing him. But right now, let's move into the market update so you get an idea of what's happening out there in terms of numbers of houses, where, and how quickly they are moving off the active list into the pending or sold list. Joyce.
Yeah. Thank you, Paul. Well, as of today, the current number of active listings that we're seeing is about a little bit under 2,800. And to put that into perspective, over the past 3 years, let's go to 2018, we're used to seeing an average of 10,000 homes actively listed per month. So we've seen a 70% drop in listings over the past 3 years. In the past 6 months, the average number of homes that have sold has been consistent at about 3,200 units per month. And what has changed drastically during that time is actually the time on the market. We've seen a 60% drop in the number of days it took to sell a home from July to December of last year. Homes are selling under a month.
When you say under a month, what does that really mean? How do they measure that?
It's measured by how quickly you've got that contract on that house.
From what date? From the day it goes on the market as an active listing?
Yes.
What about the FSBOs, the for sale by owners? Do we have any statistics available on them? Because I know people are seeing this need for inventory. Are we seeing more for sale by owners than we've seen in the past? Because I certainly haven't seen them.
You see them, but they're not being able to compete as much just because they don't have the support.
What about pricing? Has pricing been significantly affected by the demand?
Oh, yeah, you're definitely seeing an increase in pricing. You're seeing, with a lot of the contracts that we have today in particular, you're seeing a lot of escalations, and those escalations are pretty significant over what the asking prices are. So we're definitely seeing an increase there as well.
When you speak of an escalation, explain to our audience what that really means.
Okay, so what that means is if you have listed your price, let's say you've listed at $500,000, and a buyer comes in and they're like, we want to buy that house, but they want to be as competitive as possible, then they're going to come in with an escalation clause, meaning we'll pay $30,000 above the top or the highest competitive bid, not to exceed $530,000. So
whatever.
or whatever it might be. So it gives them a competitive edge most of the time. Problem is everybody's doing that now.
Right.
So it is a game.
Well, I know we just recently accepted a contract, or our clients accepted a contract that had escalation clauses, and I think we had 5 or 6 offers. Is that
We
correct?
did. We had
And
5.
And the escalation clause, there were 2 with escalation clauses, and the others were just above list. And we're talking about a house that was $700,000. And it's quite astounding that we see that kind of movement. Is that price range as active as a $450,000 or a $350,000 house?
It really is. It really is.
In today's market.
Yeah, absolutely. And the rationale behind that is a lot of people are looking to, you have multi-generational families coming together because of COVID.
Right.
So you're seeing a lot more people moving in together, working from home, so they need a little bit of extra space for themselves, for their kids, for their privacy.
Let me ask you a question. Do we have any numbers on the active loan interest rates? Because people always talk about the interest rates being a predicator of what they can buy. And when you go out and you're going to buy, if you don't have a budget, you've got a problem. And the budget's going to be predicated in part on the interest rates. Last I heard, a conventional loan was like 3.8 something percent. That's correct?
That's what we've seen.
Right. Well, look, out there in Radio Land, and please feel free to reach out to us if you have a question about the market update. We can be very specific, but it gets boring. Throwing out numbers, at least it gets boring to me. It may not to you, because you're listening to the Real Estate PB&J Hour, Paul, Business, and Joyce. That nothing more fundamental than a peanut butter jelly sandwich. And you can reach us at 757-497-1310. That's 497-1310. We're on 1310 AM, 100.9 FM. But I'd like to take a moment now and bring our guest to the forefront, Stuart Jones, who has been a good friend and client of mine for a number of years. Stuart, if you can step up to the mic, I've got a few questions for you. We are attempting to make certain that our mics are good. Stuart, how long have you been in business?
Approximately 50 years.
And
you were a little boy back then.
Yeah, I'm still a little boy at heart. Now, the question I told you is, do you have any idea of how many homes you built in all these years?
I really don't, Paul. I'd say it's probably over 1,000. Back in the day when I first started building, and there was 25 or so of us around Kempsville area, and we were each building about 10 or 15 houses a year. And I thought to myself, where will the people come from to buy all these houses we're producing? And now we talk about 15 or 20 houses. There are people in the market now is building 200 houses a year,
right.
The Ryan Homes and the likes. So the small guys like myself who started out in building houses in Chesapeake, our plans were on the back of a matchbook pad, and we took it down and showed the building inspector and gave us a permit. So we've come a long ways in 50 years.
During that time, what are the biggest changes you've seen in terms of what the buyer wants in a house? Because your houses, they're always one-offs. They may be production to a certain degree, but what I've seen is you've always been willing to make adaptations to accommodate what a client needs. What are the things that you've seen 50 years ago that no longer is important to buyers, or vice versa?
Well, I think what's important nowadays is the energy. We started back then, and we didn't insulate the garages. We had single-hung windows, wooden windows. Now we have vinyl windows that were double pane, and the energy standards have progressed to a point that energy is really important. So we've seen more changes in the demands for higher efficiency homes, and thusly the cost has been driven up. In addition to that, when I started building, you could buy a sheet of plywood for $6 a sheet. Just recently, we were paying as much as $70 a sheet. So these costs are passed on to the home buyers. And it's not that we make any more money. The lumber people are making the money, or the suppliers. So trying to keep up with supply and demand, and the demand for materials. And then we have several across the country. We have these instances where they have hurricanes and disasters that take up a lot of our lumber. Right. So we're competing for that quality of lumber.
I hadn't thought of that one of the reasons for the lumber pricing increase that has occurred over the past year is a consequence of the devastation down south.
Yes.
That's kind of amazing. Joyce, I think you had a question about what other construction methods are changes in construction methods. Then you've gone dead on me. All right, here's the question. What are the biggest changes or the most significant change in the methods of construction over 50 years? Is it all the plastic that goes in the house? Is it no longer wood and windows? What are the key elements?
Well, I think the thing that's been the most helpful to us is the fact that we've gone to no longer hand-driving nails, but we're having nail guns and those things that don't get sick and don't lay out, and putting on roofing. They don't drive the nails by hand anymore. We have nail guns and all kinds of mechanical things that help us that we didn't have 50 years ago.
Make that rat-a-tat-tat at 7 o'clock in the morning.
And they keep you going. They don't lay out sick. They don't ask for a raise either.
Joyce got a question.
Yeah, Stuart, one more question. What would be the single most important advice you would give buyers of new construction? I mean, we've seen so much happen with the clients that we worked with you. What would be the single biggest point of advice from them?
I think having a good recommendation from somebody that's used us before, that's no substitute for a good recommendation. This is a stressful time when somebody's building a new home. And one of the key elements in that is if you can please the spouse, the job goes so much easier. But it is a trying time for both the husband and the wife. And they need to feel like that they can come and talk to you and that you're interested in their new home. I mean, the price of the homes go from, we don't see anymore, $200,000, but 3 and up. It's probably 3 is the minimum to $1 million plus. But each one of those people who are buying a home, they're putting their hard-earned dollars in there, and they're just as important to the $300,000 buyer as they are to the $1,300,000 buyer. So we try to not build houses but build homes, and that's what we try to cater to, and that's what you get when you get me. You get a little bit of me.
Yeah, and realize that you're kind of going soft in your older age now. I know I didn't mean to insult you by saying you're older than dirt, but older than concrete.
But not many people in this building business are 82 years old still out doing it. And I'm enjoying it.
On the site every day.
Yeah.
It's amazing. All right. Well, if anybody wants to question or direct a question at Stuart, remember the number 757-497-1310. This is 1310 AM and 100.9 FM. This is Stuart Jones with Princess Anne Construction on the Real Estate PB&J Hour. Now, do you have another issue for Stuart? What's in terms?
No, I do actually.
Good.
We talk about, just because we've had so many experiences with you, good experiences.
Thank you.
My question to you is, how many of your clients start out with a baseline budget and then they get caught up in all those add-ons, and at the end of the day they come back and say, wow, what did I just do? And how do you manage that? How do you manage that so that their expectations are met but their budget is also met?
Well, I think you can do it in a lot of different ways. It's not always the amount of money that you spend, but how you spend that money. We just did a little subdivision, had 3 houses in it, and people wanted to put some BAM in there. So we put BAM, and as soon as I told them about the BAM, they wanted more BAM. So it was quite interesting, and we had a good time with those people, and we have some happy buyers.
Yes. the whole key thing is to be certain that you can communicate with your builder and the agent representing the builder, because in most instances that builder's agent is going to be your major contact if you are a buyer. You've got to make certain that he or she understands and can speak the language and can translate for the builder what you want, because sometimes the language isn't there. That's just the nature of human communications, and that's why it's so good to have somebody who's a communications expert in Joyce. I'm just a guy who takes the numbers, you know.
But as we build and deal with these people on a one-to-one basis, it's, they feel much more at home than they would be some large corporation who they never get to speak to the guy who pulls the trigger. I'm the guy who pulls the trigger, and you can also talk to me. But thank you for having me on.
Stuart, it's always a pleasure. It's Stuart Jones, and we look forward to you coming back. We're going to take a short break. This is the Real Estate PB&J Hour at 1310 AM and 100.9 FM.
Money Talk Traffic.
There are not any wrecks or stalled vehicles holding up the interstates. We have the roadwork in Norfolk 264 eastbound at the 64 interchange. It's still blocking the right inside lane, and that's why we are seeing a slowdown that starts at Military. On the peninsula, 64 eastbound is tight between the Hampton River Bridge and HRBT. Secondaries in Newport News, wreck now clearing Warwick Boulevard at 59th. Tony Hayes, Money Talk 1310 and 100.9.
Hi, this is Gordon Deal. Friday on This Morning, America's First News. A closer look at what's driving inflation and what kind of impact the government can make pushing and pulling various levers. Also, there are new questions about how we test for COVID-19 as the virus develops. For example, is it better to swab the nose or throat? And the age group at work experiencing the most success. Friday on This Morning, America's First News.
Tomorrow morning, 6 till 8 on Money Talk 1310 and 100.9.
Do you want to learn how to flip houses and invest in real estate in Hampton Roads, but are sick and tired of these reality TV show hosts flying into town and then flying out with your money? Hi, I'm Scott Jelinek, the founder of the Master Investor Academy, and I live and invest right here in Hampton Roads and have been doing it local for over 20 years. The market is changing and it is time to get excited, but only if you know what you are doing. I am hosting a free workshop where I will show you how to find deeply discounted properties, how to fund them, and how to flip them using little to none of your own money, but most importantly, I'm going to show you how we can profit together. To reserve your seat, call 757-777-9188 or go to scottflipsva.com. Again, that number is 757-777-9188 or go to scottflipsva.com. As a special gift, just for attending, I'm going to give you a free hardcover copy of my book, Work Just Gets in the Way of Making Money. So go ahead and get registered, and I look forward to seeing you there.
Hey guys, Dave Ramsey here to talk about one of my Ramsey Trusted Insurance endorsed local providers, Landmark Insurance and Financial Group. These guys work for you, not the insurance carrier. So they are able to shop the market and get you the best coverage at the best prices using the latest technology. Protection, education, and integrity are the foundation of what Landmark does. When you call Landmark, you will speak to a real person that knows your name. Their goal is to keep you happy with your insurance needs for many years to come. So they do everything possible to serve you like a rock star. Landmark is proud to say they are large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Find out why so many choose Landmark Insurance and Financial Group. Call 888-651-2111 to get in touch today. That's 888-651-2111.
Large enough to serve you, small enough to care.
Good morning. Time to go to work.
No, I don't wanna.
Tired of the same old job? Like your life is Groundhog Day repeating itself? Well, this Groundhog Day, find your dream job. February 2nd is the Tidewater Job Fair presented by MillersHomeComfort.com at the Chesapeake Conference Center. See TidewaterJobFair.com.
My name's Lori, and I'm a teacher at CSEP. I've worked for them for 4.5 years, and I absolutely love it. The staff is highly trained. The staff provides a cohesive unit. They're trained to work together to provide a safe learning environment for each child, dependent upon what each child's need is, academically, personally, emotionally, and behaviorally. The children know that they're safe when they come in. They know that they're safe physically. They know they're safe to make mistakes and restart at any moment. The most fulfilling thing has to be the relationships with the kids. I've been fortunate enough to work with them when they're very young, although that can be challenging, like every age can be challenging. So I've gotten to know them as young students. And so each year, as I develop a relationship with them, sometimes I might have them for 2 years or 3 years in a row, or work with them and see them throughout a 3-year period in the time that I've been at CSEP. And so I have the privilege of seeing them grow and mature.
For more information on working at CSEP, visit csepcareers.net. That's SECEP careers.net.
Welcome back to the Real Estate PB&J Hour on Money Talk 1310 and 100.9. Rose and Womble Realtors, Paul Fuqua and Joyce Carcaise continue their discussion of the fundamentals of home buying and selling.
Thanks for joining us again. We're very excited to be here. This, again, is our very first broadcast for PB&J Hour, the Real Estate PB&J Hour. I'm here with Paul Fuqua, and we are just going to talk a little bit about how to prep your property for sale. There's a lot of questions we've got, I'm sure, and answers that we can share with you. But first, Paul, you're sometimes really interesting, and you've got a lot of different things to talk about. So I was thinking, maybe you could just tell us a little bit about what you do outside of real estate.
Well, when I'm not taking care of the 2 dogs my wife and I have, and I'm not doing the husbandly chores that she requests, I'm both a car guy and a sports guy. I've restored a lot of cars over the years, and currently have a number of them in my garage right now that are in pieces or partly in pieces and partly together. And I was a basketball coach. I was very fortunate to coach at grade school, high school, middle school, and D1 schools. And I still, up until last year, was running basketball clinics for the city of Chesapeake. And I'm not a good fan at a basketball game because I become too analytical, but that's what I do. And hopefully the penchant I have to pursue details is beneficial in my practice of real estate, because the difference between somebody who knows what he's doing and somebody who doesn't is his application of attention to details. And an omission of detail in a contract or in an addendum or in the process can have serious after effects in the purchase of a home or the sale of a home.
And our license.
Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, both Joyce and I have North Carolina broker's licenses, and we have a higher level of requirement in North Carolina for continuing education. It's annual, whereas in Virginia, it's every 2 years, not just annual.
Yeah, it's stressful.
It becomes that. But that's what I do. But what we really want to get to is answering some of the questions about making the decision to sell. You may have a situation where there's a job change, or there's a duty change, or there's a downsizing, or there are additional other elements that force you to consider leaving the area or leaving where you currently live, and you have to make the decision to sell. And how do you get ready to do that? There are a variety of ways. I'm going to let Joyce touch on a little bit of it because she does a lot of the preliminary work while we work out the sets of numbers that make it possible for somebody to consider the reality of selling a home.
Yeah, and really the most critical thing is to really be prepared for the buyer that's going to be walking into that door. First thing to do is making sure that you've got under that crawl space. If you've got a crawl space, make sure everything's in working order there. You want to make sure that you do that pre-listing. You also want to make sure that you're really looking at the big ticket items in that house to make sure that they are in the shape that they're going to need to be in before the inspector comes in.
I've had buyers say, or rather sellers say, well, I'll just give them a discount, or I'll let them have a buyer's premium or something to that effect, so that I don't have to do anything to do that. Is that valid?
It's valid.
No, it's not.
It happens.
I'm going to argue with you.
Hey, I know. No, it happens.
I would have completely.
But here's where I like to go.
All right.
Okay, like I said, I think when you prepare, you save money.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to gain that money
Right.
at the end game, right? But I think that when you prepare up front, you have time, number one, to shop your vendors so that you can get the fixes done that you need to get done.
Right.
And especially under the house being a big one. But you can also do the same thing. You can also do the same thing with your HVAC, with your water heater, taking care of that up front. I don't like to take that approach that you had mentioned where you're giving the money,
Oh, you
giving the
can't do
credit.
that. That's. I think maybe you misinterpreted. When you start offering a credit to a buyer for a problem, you're creating difficulties all the way down the line for yourself and for the lenders and for the buyers, and it's a red flag.
And let's bring it back to the appraisal then, too.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, the key element is have the inspections done on your nickel if you really are looking for top pricing out of your neighborhood, and be certain that the work that needs to be done gets done before you put it on the market or is being done while it's on the market, because you're going to end up having to do it anyway, especially that which relates to crawl space, termite and moisture problems. That's where we see the greatest possibility for a difficulty in getting a loan closed for your buyer. Now, what do you suggest to a prospective seller to do in that regard? Do we bring in inspectors for them? Do we not?
We do. We bring in the inspectors. We always offer up, let's do the home inspection first. Let's just see what's out there. Now, we have some buyers that have only been in their homes for 2 years that have sold. So you don't necessarily need to worry about it if there's no major issues happening within that house at that time, because it's been pretty recent. But for a lot of them, it is worth the dime because, again, you can have your fixes done on your dime. You can shop it. You can do it a lot more efficiently than if you're under that 30-day or 45-day close. We should say 45-day close, and you have to rush the fixes.
Let me ask
and
you
the
a
repairs.
question. If let's say you have your home inspected, or you know that there's a problem underneath your house and you haven't had it inspected and it's on the market, and you disguise or you do not disclose that there's a problem, are you running afoul of the law?
Yeah, if I know it.
If you as a realtor,
As a realtor know it, I have to share it.
you have to disclose it to a prospective buyer.
Yes.
All right. Now, I will give you a little bit of common law there, and this is the result of litigation. A seller has no obligation to disclose to a buyer they call it a latent defect unless that seller is asked. Now, we ask, so they have to answer us. We put them in a position. If we don't ask and they don't tell us, then we as realtors become responsible and can lose our licenses over that. I mean, the part of the preparation to sell, and we don't want to get too far away from that, is knowing what can happen during the process while people are buying or attempting to buy your home. So you prepare it. The one thing that I like, because I have a kind of a photographic background, is I like our sellers to take pictures of their house by themselves and look at it. You can walk around it, but take pictures of it and blow them up on your computer or on your phone and see if you see green stuff growing in the brick, see if you see cracked windows, see if you see what the front of the house looks like. It's something that they can do, because the first impression when a buyer rolls up there with his or her agent, we want to have that wow factor. Yeah, you got one shot. You don't have two. If it's not there and it doesn't look right when they drive up that first time, you may have lost that buyer.
Yeah, curb appeal.
And curb appeal is more than just fresh paint on the front door. Curb appeal is getting rid of the cobwebs.
Putting down fresh mulch.
Yes, exactly. What else? Fresh mulch?
Power washing, the driveway, the house, the stairs.
Well, now, my question is there a place where you go too far? Where could you over prepare a house for sale?
Sure.
And how? I stymied you.
I know. Well, no, some people will go. I mean, they'll go to the extent that they're repainting the deck, that they are, which didn't matter. They're repainting the deck, which didn't matter,
right,
from that perspective. They are replacing windows that didn't necessarily need to be replaced. Some people will go above and beyond. Things that that have always bothered them that aren't necessarily an issue for a new buyer, or that will not potentially be an issue for a new buyer, they will go ahead and fix. And it's pride of ownership.
Yeah. Well, I know in my house there are a couple of doors that just don't really want to latch unless I slam them.
Yep.
And I know that that's something, if I were to put my house on the market, I would fix, simply because I've become used to it, so it's not important, but it becomes important to a prospective buyer. Mm-hmm. And the whole thing we want to do, correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't think I am, because
You're never wrong.
Thank you very much, Joyce. I appreciate that. Oh, man, you're great to have around. It boosts my ego. Anyway, see, you've made me lose my train of thought.
That's why I did it.
Oh, but when we deal with the whole aspect of taking corrective mm-hmm. action as a consequence of an inspection, are we adding value to the house? No. We're not adding value to the house. We're making the house easier to sell for you. That's what you're doing. But you're not adding market value to it because you're not expanding the footage, and you're not changing the location, and you're not making a swimming pool exist where it didn't exist before, things of that nature. Those add value. Key measurable value. We can tell you what the value of adding a bathroom is to a house. We can tell you what adding a bedroom to a house. But we can't tell you what redoing the kitchen will bring in terms of total dollars, other than we will tell you that what you need to do is make that house reflect the expectation its price sets. If you're dealing with a $400,000 in a $400,000 neighborhood, everybody in the neighborhood is between $375,000 and $450,000, right?
Right.
Lots of neighborhoods in this area. If your house is the same as Joe Blow's down the street that sold 6 months ago for $410,000, today that house will sell for 10% more because of the nature of the market. It may sell for more than that, depending on how well it's marketed and how well it's the approach is, and how well you've prepared it to meet the expectation that the price has set. You don't walk into a $450,000 house and it's not done as well as a $350,000 house. You don't walk into a $1 million house and that was set up as though we're a double wide out in the country somewhere. So these are elements that we really want to be certain is that when you prepare a house, you're preparing it for the purposes of letting it meet the expectations that the price is set.
Yeah, and another way to do that too is to look at other listings in your neighborhood, homes that have sold. Work with your realtor to do this. They can pull up the ones that have recently sold at those price points. See what it is that they have so that you know what you're competing against. Look at the new ones that are in the listings to see what you're competing with. That's also going to help you too and kind of give you a reality check of what you've got and what you think you can get.
I guess my question, what is the most important element, I'm asking this, what is the most important element that you want to have corrected so that when that person, that prospective buyer walks through the front door, what thing is the critical element?
The odor.
What do you mean odor?
Okay, so a lot of people have animals, right?
I got animals.
Yeah, I know. So
I like my animals.
I do too. Yeah. But you don't want to walk into a house and smell an animal, because what if I don't want one? Or what if I don't have any? What if I have allergic reactions? I don't want to smell your odor. I want to be coming in, and I want to visualize myself living in that home, and that smell is part of that.
Well,
smokers, it's going to be the same thing. If you're smoking in the house, you're most certainly going to smell that.
Believe me, I know that. And I do know that you can buy an ionizer that can help get rid of the smell of cigarettes.
Oh, yeah.
Which are death knell today, because the population of smokers has declined to less than 20%, which I I'm proud to say that I did that too. I used to smoke, never smoked in the house, never.
But one way to really be able to, like I said, when you live there, you're just immune to it. Right. You're really immune to it. So at that point, bring somebody else in, not even your friends necessarily. Bring somebody else in and just say,
let me ask Stuart, he's still here. Would you go do that? Are you going to charge if you're the official odor doctor?
Yeah, there you go.
What I want to say is I want to see you declutter your house. That's the biggest thing for me. There's all kinds of trinkets and things. Just declutter it so that you show off what you got. It's like having a pair of shoes that's not shined. Shine your shoes. Sweep your floor and take your clutter away. It makes it where you can makes it more usable.
You're stealing our thunder. You're stealing our thunder.
No, but that's very, very true.
Help you sell houses.
Because it's the staging aspect of it. You want to make sure that everything is set. And one key thing to always remember as well is the fact that if you're doing anything different in your home, you're going to upgrade anything, and you know you're going to sell, don't please yourself. You need to know what buyers are looking for. Exactly. So you are actually going to make those changes for the buyers, not for yourself. And that's going to be a really big tip.
Hey, if you guys will hold on and come back, we've got more discussion. We haven't even talked about buying. This is Paul Fuqua and Joyce Carcaise in the Real Estate PB&J Hour. And you can reach us at 757
497-1310.
And we're on 1310 AM, 100.9 FM. We'll see you in a couple minutes.
Money Talk Traffic.
Stalled vehicle 64 eastbound at the HRBT. All lanes are blocked. The backup is to the Hampton River Bridge. In Norfolk, westbound 64, there's a breakdown on the right shoulder before Northampton. A couple of wrecks on the side streets, one on Tidewater north of 64, the other's in Virginia Beach, Dam Neck Road at Princess Anne. Tony Hayes, Money Talk 1310 and 100.9.
Tonight, it's women's college basketball on Money Talk 1310 and 100.9. Listen as the Old Dominion Monarchs play at the University of Texas San Antonio Roadrunners. Coverage begins at 7:30 tonight, right here on Money Talk 1310 and 100.9.
Hunting and outdoor enthusiasts, the gear you need is now a click away at freedomoutdoors.us. That's right, the convenience, selection, and value you've come to know and love at Freedom Shooting Center is now available online at freedomoutdoors.us. It's real-time online shopping. Everything you see is in stock, so there's no guessing. Enjoy fast ordering and processing, easy delivery, or choose pickup if you're local. You can even buy now and pay later with financing available for firearms over $300. FreedomOutdoors.us is Hampton Road's premier online retailer for all things outdoors, hunting and shooting sports. So just click or tap the gear you need. There's a huge selection of firearms, ammo, and accessories. Hey, it's always hunting season depending on what you're looking for. FreedomOutdoors.us has you covered, no matter what the elements are. Visit online today and shop away. FreedomOutdoors.us. Discover true freedom. Freedom outdoors.
Hi guys, this is Christy with Christy Buys Houses, and I buy houses cash. Call me today at 757-780-5166. I'll buy your house for cash and pay you cash up front. I buy houses in any price range, in any location in Hampton Roads. Do you own a house that needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, because I love buying fix-up houses. Do you have a tenant living in your property? Not a problem. I'll buy your house with the tenant in it. Do you think your property will be difficult to sell? Easy. We provide assistance for any situation. Do you want the best price for your house? Done. I'll be any offer you have on the table. Remember, if you need cash fast, I'll pay you cash up front. Call me today at 757-780-5166. 757-780-5166. That's 757-780-5166.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Good morning. Time to get up and go to work.
Oh, no, I don't wanna.
Good morning. Time to get up and... No!
Tired of waking up to the same old job? Like your life is Groundhog Day repeating itself? This Groundhog Day, change it up and find your dream job. February 2nd is the Tidewater Job Fair presented by MillersHomeComfort.com at the Chesapeake Conference Center from 11 till 4. Choose from hundreds of career opportunities from several dozens of Hampton Road's top employers. For details, go to TidewaterJobFair.com.
Welcome back to the Real Estate PB&J Hour on Money Talk 1310 and 100.9. Rose and Womble Realtors, Paul Fuqua and Joyce Carcaise continue their discussion of the fundamentals of home buying and selling.
Welcome back. We had a nice steady conversation regarding listing your home and some key tips there, making that successful. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about the decision to buy. Before we do that, if you have any questions, because I know we covered a lot of material, please give us a call at 757-497-1310.
And also, my phone number is 757-449-7463. So if you want to list a house or you want to buy a house, you can call me, 757-449-7463, or Joyce at
757-324-2445.
We're throwing a lot of phone numbers at you, but because we do this, one, because it's fun, two, because it's a process that expands our potential client base, and three, we want your business. And that's why we're on this radio show and on this great station, 1310 AM and 100.9 FM. One of the things we want to talk about real quickly in terms of buying is the most important element. And Joyce does a lot of buyer, do I want to call it advice, giving them advice? Consultation, that's what it is, buyer consultation. You're good at it, probably far better than I am, because all I want to do is I want to make certain that when I go out with you to look at a house, I know that you can buy it. And I'm going to tell a personal story, because years ago, my first house, I had what I thought was a very good amount of money available to me. And I'd started a business and was doing well in the first year, and so it was time to buy a new house. And I went out with an agent and my wife, and we found something, and we put a contract in, and it was thrilling because it was accepted, and we called all of our family and all of our friends and said, hey, you got to go buy this house and see it. It's beautiful. We're going to be moving in a couple of months. We'll need your help to move in, only to get a call within the next several days from the bank saying, sorry, you don't qualify right now because you've assumed the debt of this business. I was crushed, but more than that, I was humiliated in front of my friends and family. I told them, don't drive by because it was a problem. So I don't want that to happen. I want, when I open a door for a client, a buyer client, that I know that that person can afford to buy this house. But I don't want to be your banker. I don't want to be your lender. Joyce is not your lender. We don't need to know your financial background. We don't need to know anything other than the fact that you have the capacity to buy the houses we're going to show you. Now, what does that bring up? We always say set a budget, and I learned a long time ago that lenders will approve you without regard to how much you want to spend on a monthly basis. You may be approved to buy a $500,000, $700,000, $1 million house because of your income level, your debt structure, because you've planned wisely. But the key thing for you to do is look at what your monthly budget is and look at whether or not putting that much cash that you're anticipating putting down on a house, it can be 5%, 15%, 20%, 50%, whatever the percentage is, that cash that you invest in that house initially is not liquid. You're not going to be able to go and withdraw it at any time very quickly like you can from your savings account. And people make the mistake of thinking this is a great investment because it's going to grow, and it will grow over the years, and it is always a great investment, but it's not a liquid investment. Liquid means, bang, I can get my hands on that money right now. So when you sit down with a lender, figure out what your budget is, not what they think you can afford. And you can take pride in the fact that you qualify for $1 million house, but I've seen people who qualify for $1 million houses buy $300,000 houses because they want to continue to be able to qualify for $1 million, or they want to buy a house at the beach, or they want to buy a house in the Shenandoah Valley. And if they load everything into this one house, that's not a possibility. So that's my recommendation. Set your budget up on what your monthly expenditures will be, not on what the total dollar amount is. And timing. How critical, Joyce, is timing when you're writing a contract for a buyer who wants to buy that house down there on Overley Road?
Oh, it is critical. I mean, that could, number one, determine whether or not you're going to get the opportunity with that homeowner, right, with the seller, because a lot of people are putting in shorter time frames for closing, waiving certain things, home inspections, things of that sort, or doing them for informational purposes. So that's actually a competitive advantage that you have to think through before you actually, when you're putting that on, that offer on the property. But also locking in your interest rate. What can you afford today based on the interest rate before you locked in might be very different than what you can afford in 45 days.
Because there is a volatility to the interest rates. Well, what about the idea of, I've never had very many of my buyer clients or our buyer clients ask for the operating costs of a house. That's an important component.
Our investors do. The investors do, obviously, because it's part of that package, right? But I'm starting to see that a little bit more and more. And I actually just got that for the home that we have under contract now. Looking for utility costs. They want to see how cost efficient that house is to operate.
It's not only utilities.
Yeah.
It's homeowners.
Homeowners association.
Is there flood insurance, wind and
Mm-hmm.
hail damage?
Exactly.
The other elements, association fees. We have people that are always asking for houses that aren't exposed to a homeowners association because you can't park a commercial vehicle or you can't park a trailer or whatever. And you pay a fee every month to that homeowners association for the enforcement of those rules to maintain the values of the neighborhood. Sometimes it creates problems because it's a sort of power that may not otherwise be exercised by the people in office. What about anticipated upgrades? Do you see people looking for those?
If they're looking to come in and say, okay, we're going to take this house, we love it, we're going to redo the kitchen. You got to look at that expense. How much is this going to cost you? $20,000, $40,000? Are you going to redo the master bedroom, redo the floors? Those are expenses that you've got to factor in.
Well, we still have Stuart here. Stuart, what would be an average cost to redo a kitchen in, say, a 3,000 square foot house?
$15,000 to $20,000.
And that's upgraded with the countertops and the...
Everything now is going to granite countertops. You can't sell a house without granite countertops in this market today.
Right. All right. Thank you. So that's a number. How about a bathroom?
Bathroom counts are important.
But how much to remodel a bathroom, approximately?
There again, you're looking at another $15,000.
Really?
Depending on what you do. I mean, take out a shower and put a tile shower in from a fiberglass shower stall and new countertops and sinks and valves. I mean, it can run into the money.
Okay.
But I think that bathrooms and kitchens are key elements to any home.
Yes. Well,
the wife is looking for the kitchen, the husband's looking for the bathroom.
Or vice versa in my case. Thank you, Stuart. I'm glad you were able to stay in here. Again, we anticipate that we will have calls and they'll probably be going off the air by the time they come through. But I know another element is that we have to consider for many of our clients in this area is the time of commute.
Yeah, that's a big one.
You know, because if you're working in downtown Norfolk and you want to live in Suffolk, you've got a sizable number of miles to drive. And the same thing today, we see so many people moving to northeastern North Carolina, and they don't work in Chesapeake, which is 14 miles away, the line, but they work in northeastern Virginia Beach.
We literally just had somebody sell a home because they were too far from their workplace after putting them in this home about a year ago. They did exactly that.
Yeah, but they moved even further away.
I know. But you know what? They have a beautiful home.
It's on the water. That's what they want. Yes.
And that commute was worth it for them.
Yeah, and it's in North Carolina.
Yep,
so
North
that's
Carolina.
where these dual licenses help, because we can find houses in Carolina.
People have different preferences for how long they're willing to drive.
The fun part of the real estate business is seeing the joy and the sense of satisfaction that our buyer clients get when they buy a new home. They can't wait to move in. And to see the smile on people's faces who are sellers when they get that check. And hopefully they don't have to reach into their pocket and make good at the closing table. That's not happening today.
Not today.
Is it? No. Now, is that going to happen sometime in the future? Could well be if people aren't wise in how they have structured their financial package surrounding their home. The other consideration that I think is very important for a buyer is, of course, what the neighborhood brings to the party, because people buy neighborhoods and then the house within the neighborhood. And what can we tell people about neighborhoods as real estate agents?
I tell you, I think one of the best things to do and the best advice that I've ever given them, my buyers, is go there on the weekends, drive around the neighborhood, go during the week, just so that you can get a flavor for the environment, the noise level if there is any, but just, who's out, who's playing, are there kids? You're bringing kids into the neighborhood, you want to have that access. It just gives you a really nice feel for what's out there and what you can expect. And we can't tell them that.
No.
We just can't share that kind of information.
Under federal and state and local laws, we can describe a property in terms of its neighborhood, in terms of its resale value and the comparables when we do a market study. And that's one of the most important things that a real estate agent give you when you're considering houses, is a market study of the house that you are going to be buying, so that you have an idea that it's going to be a fair price. And it may well be that you're not going to pay a fair price because you want it so badly and because there are so few houses that meet your expectations or requirements.
Right.
I know that I always advise, and I know Joyce has, you always do a test drive on your commute, because you can discover that it's just not tenable. It just doesn't work. And I know that there have been instances where we have had families that absolutely fall in love with a property, but the commutes were so significant that they had to find something else. We were very fortunate finding it for
right.
them. And that's investigating the schools also. If you have children, don't rely upon what somebody tells you about the schools. Go to the school, knock on the door of the principal, and ask the questions about what the school is doing for children. And they will sell you their school. And I know that there are schools that have not been in favorably, the buying public hasn't been favorably disposed towards sending their children to those schools in some areas of Virginia Beach and Chesapeake. And when in fact the reality is those schools are superb.
Absolutely.
And we both had children that went to schools that weren't as desirable for a variety of reasons.
Right.
Well, we're running out of time. This has been the inaugural Real Estate PB&J Hour here on 1310 AM, 100.9 FM. I'm Paul Fuqua with Rosen Womble.
I'm Joyce Carcaise.
And we hope you'll revisit with us next Thursday at 5 o'clock. Thank you and have a great week.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.